Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We are waiting a few minutes for letting others join us, and we'll be starting in a few. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Anupriya Rath, a marketing specialist with Everbridge. Thank you so much for joining us today for the product demo webinar of Everbridge Crisis Management. Our presenter today is Raj Mohanka. He is a senior technical sales engineer with Everbridge. Before we start, I wanted to go over a few housekeeping rules. You can send us your questions throughout the webinar. If you look at the bottom right-hand side, you'll find a question chat box, and you can enter your questions there. The webinar will be recorded, and it will be available on demand once the live demo is finished. Okay. Are you able to hear me now? At the end of the demo, Raj will answer all your questions. And in case we run out of time, we'll follow up with you individually. So now handing it over to Raj.
All right, thank you very much. So let me minimize this, and I'm just showing out this one PowerPoint slider. So once again, my name is Raj Mohanka. I'm a sales engineer. I've been with Everbridge for a couple of years, and I focus on pre-sales technical work. And a lot of what I do is customer facing. I'm always very interested in real world use cases that customers have. So when I get done with the presentation in 15, 20 minutes, I'm looking forward to some good question and answer session. So without further ado, let me move this out of the way and go into the interface itself over here. So if you look on the screen, I've got the Everbridge suite here, and in the center, you'll see a tab for critical events. So what I'm going to talk about today is Everbridge Crisis Management. Now, first thing I want to get out of the way, in the name of the product, of the module is Crisis, but please understand this does not have to be exclusively for crises or critical situations. This can also be used for operations. As a matter of fact, I had one customer, I was working with them on some plans. It was like 3, 4 plans, and they said, can we put some operations things in here? I said, sure. Next thing you know, we had over 100 operational plans. So the idea of crisis management is this. When you need to go beyond just notifying people, and actually you need to coordinate people doing work in the organization, whether they're local or whether they're remote, it doesn't matter. Whether they have access to a laptop or whether they're doing everything from their mobile phone also doesn't matter. That's where crisis management comes in. This is the execution phase of plan management. Now, a little bit about terminology, right? Sometimes we talk about events, we talk about plans. Some organizations have things called run books, playbooks. The idea is all the same, right? These are a series of steps. This is work that people need to do in order to be proactive and deal rapidly with a situation that may be arising with an incident and be able to get back to normal operations. So the key with Everbridge is everything software as a service. And this module, Crisis Management, is fully integrated into the suite. As you can see here, I'm going to click on the tab right now, and it's going to take me to the dashboard. Now, we've made some enhancements to this product in the past months so that we have this configurable dashboard so that different people who go into the system from an administrative point of view can customize the dashboard to see things they want to. what are all of the active events or plans right now? Where are the geographic locations? I can see the different plans. I can drill down into them for the details. If any particular tasks are flagged. So when you assign work to people, those people who do the work are called responders. Now, if those responders raise the flag and say, hey, I can't complete the task assigned to me, I've got an issue, I need some help. That's basically tasks needing attention, and you can highlight that over here. So all of these particular squares are called widgets, and they comprise the dashboard, and you can customize this so that different people going into the system can have a different view. And once again, everything with Everbridge, software as a service and role-based access. So different administrators come in, they can get a customized view for them. If your organization is larger and you have a geographic dispersal, so you have, here's the people in the US, here's the people in Canada, here's the people in Europe, Asia, etc. You can actually break this thing geographically and have different regions and have different permissions for people and plans associated with those regions, okay? I'm now going to click on the next sub-tab here called Critical Event Templates. And I'll bring up an example of one which I'm going to launch in a minute here. So you can see there's many different plans. So just in the same way that you prepare ahead of time with different notifications or incidents, planning ahead for things that might happen, likewise, you can have pre-built plans in the system. You can either create them in the system or you can upload them into the system. And these plans are called templates because every time you execute a plan, it's going to be a little bit different. In other words, I have a plan for how I'm going to handle this weather situation, or handle this active shooter, or handle this power outage, or whatever the problem might be. I have a way I'm going to handle that. But if this thing happens right now, we may modify that slightly. So the ability to go in and make quick changes before you launch a plan is always there. So it's called a template. It's got a name, a title. It's got a little description. It's got an event type or category. Once again, you're going to have many of these potentially. When something happens, the last thing you want to do is waste time trying to find the right plan or waste time thinking about what to do. It should be set up ahead of time so you don't have to expend time or expend thought. You just get the plan, make a couple tweaks, launch the plan. Now, you'll notice here that the plan in this case has an owner. I've set it to be myself, but it could be different people in the system. It is not, however, going to be a group or an Everbridge rule. And the reason why we've kind of streamlined this and simplified it and said, hey, I want the owner of the overall plan or event to be a person, that is because as you're executing the plan, if there's any questions that arise among the people doing the work, the responders, and they go back to a team, there could be finger pointing within the team. So you want to make sure that the buck stops somewhere, it goes back to an individual person who takes ownership for the execution of that incident, of that plan. You can optionally have location information associated with this. It could be an address, it could be a polygon, a shape on the map. So if it's a weather pattern, maybe it goes out 50 or 100 kilometers. You can have a description. And now here's the important thing. Part of this overall critical event template are these components on the right side. Every plan is composed of three things. It's composed of tasks. So here are the checklists I'm going to assign to people. It's composed of different types of communication, and it's composed potentially of reference documentation. Now, on the task list side, you can have one or more task lists. There's not a limit there. So imagine you have, here's the checklist, or here's the tasks I want people locally to do at headquarters, and here's the stuff that I want people remotely to do. And when we launch the plan, I want to auto launch or automatically launch certain things. So I don't have to go in and launch the plan and then go back and click on other things. With one click, I can do it all. Incident communications, if you know something about Everbridge, you know that there's a lot of flexibility there. I can notify the employees that this thing is going on. I can notify the responders or my key people who are doing the work that, hey, here's what's happening, you need to get to work. I can notify senior management. We've had this situation, don't worry, it's completely under control. We'll give you an update in 2 hours. I can set up a conference call. We make it very convenient to set up conference bridges so that it can go to the right people, they get called, they hear it on their phone, they hit one button like the number 1, and they're automatically in the bridge. And then you can manage that and perhaps record that all as an audio conversation. We also have a new capability called Secure Incident Chat. This is the ability to go through and have an encrypted conversation. So if there are times when you need to exchange sensitive corporate or organizational data, maybe it's PII or something else, and it's not something you want anybody to look at, you can have a group of people, a small group of people you invite into that incident chat session. You can think of that chat session almost like a chat room. Have that secure conversation going back and forth, and when you're done, the whole thing can get saved up in a PDF. So that's another great option in addition to conference calls or just notifying people. And then finally is reference documentation. You can have different types of reference documents that can be associated with the overall plan, or it could be associated with specific tasks in that task list or that checklist. And as a matter of fact, if I go over here to our document library, you're going to see that I have a number of different documents here. Some of them have this cloud icon, meaning that I uploaded them into Everbridge. Other ones have this link. So what that means is you have a choice. You can either upload the document into Everbridge, or if you've got something you like in your organization, maybe it's a SharePoint or a file share or something like that, or you have a document that changes every day, and last thing you want to do is upload it and then come back, a month later and it's outdated, you've always got the choice of linking to the document also. Now, the key component I showed you on the plans are checklists, right? Or task lists. So if we look at a task list, once again, it's got a title, a description, it's owned by somebody. Here, however, it's more flexible in terms of who the owner of that task list checklist is. It could, in addition to being an individual, it could be a group. And of course, you can see there's a hierarchy, a folder structure optionally here, which is something that you can bring over from your HR system. No need to reinvent the wheel and create that within Everbridge. And of course, you could use Everbridge rules for that. So you've definitely got some flexibility there. On this simple example, we've got 5 steps in this checklist. It's assigned to different people and there are reference documents. You can have it assigned to a person. You can have it assigned to a role. So maybe I have this one assigned to an incident commander. 2 hours into the execution, something changes and I need to swap it with a different person, but they both have the same type of capability of incident commander. So we can keep the role constant while changing the people who are involved. And then of course, you can also have tasks which are associated with groups or teams. Now, because I'm the administrator, I can go through and make changes. So if you look here, I can take this task 5 and slide this up here, and the next task and move it over here. I can delete people. I can add new task items. I can make any kind of changes. Not every task has to have a reference document, completely up to you. So that's a brief overview of the components of the system. I think the best thing to do now is to show one. So I'm just going to go and launch it. So let's say that something happened, requires a building evacuation. I go through and click Launch Event. Over on the left-hand side, in the same way that I would find a template for communication, I would find that plan. So here we're going to say Building Evacuation. I'm going to say Webinar, just so we know that. Maybe this was caused by active assailant, like an active shooter. It's got an address. I've got the polygon on the map. I've got the different things in terms of my task list or checklist, communications, reference documents. You'll notice it's automatically inserting today's date and timestamp, and I'm going to go and launch it. Now, when I click that, it's going to give me a pop-up that says, hey, you sure you want to do this? When you launch this plan, you're going to put people to work. So it's not just about communicating, but it's also about assigning people tasks and getting people to work. And I'm going to say, yes, I want to go ahead and do that. Now, when I do that, it's going to take me to the critical event details page. And this is a page, once again, that I can kind of customize the look and feel. It's got my task list, the communications, the documents, all of that information. When I go to the task list itself, I can start working on it. So each task has 4 statuses. It can be not started. It can be something that's in progress. If I'm able to complete it, I can say done, and it's now complete. And if there's a problem, I can raise the flag. So I can say needs attention, and you notice that I'm forced to enter some type of comment. So I can say I cannot complete this task, I need help, or something else. I can upload a couple different images. So maybe there's a picture of machinery or a road being blocked by a truck, or you can imagine different images that might be helpful, and I can add that comment into there. And you'll notice at the top left now, all of my tasks are being updated here as I'm going through and doing this. And of course, I have the ability to, as changes are made on this page, I can click on auto refresh, and the page is going to automatically refresh every minute. And as I'm speaking with you, it looks like I got something on my mobile phone. So I'm sharing out my mobile phone here. And if you look, you can see that it says tasks assigned to you. Now, that's a communication that I can receive as an SMS. So if I look, I have an SMS that came in saying tasks are assigned to you, and I can click on the link for more information and drill down. I can also receive that as an email. I think my email should be coming in very soon that shows that. And I can also receive that as a mobile push. And that's what I was showing right now, as a matter of fact, that I received the mobile push. And in the mobile push, it took me directly to the ability to go through and see all of that. One of the other things I mentioned is that when we're doing this, we can launch different types of communications, which could include a secure incident chat. And so here I can go through and have that secure incident chat, that encrypted conversation that people may need to have. I personally I think it's a very nice option. In addition to having the conference bridge, you can always do that. And so now I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you this plan, this building evacuation. So I'm going into my phone, and you can see that I have some tasks that are assigned to me. If I look at all of the tasks, you can see that some things are grayed out and some things are black. Now, if I look at this grayed out one, provide employees with address, and I click on it, and let's say that I want to do that task, I try to do something, and it says, you have no permission to change the status. And yet, if someone else does something, I can see that they've done that. For tasks which are assigned to me that are here in black, I can go through and do the work and complete that. So this is very powerful, because not only can you separate out different types of task lists and plans, but you can have different roles and responsibilities within the execution of a given plan and say, you can do this, you can do that, etc. Now, as we're going through and executing, probably I'm going to get interrupted by somebody in management who says, hey, can you show me a status of where everything stands right now? The last thing I want to do is waste half an hour, 1 hour generating a report for them. I don't need to. Everything in Everbridge is being archived and logged as I'm going through. And so I can go through here and do a very quick situation report. You can see on the screen, and I can say, here is the status of this plan as of this moment. I can click on preview. This is going to show what this is going to look like as a PDF, which I can go through and print out, or I can email to somebody. And you know, that took me maybe 30 seconds. Now, if somebody says, well, that's fine, that's a very high level status of this event execution, I want to see something more detailed, I can click on view audit log here. I can see the history of my audit logs, and I can export out a very detailed, comma delimited spreadsheet, which is going to contain every single bit of information about that plan execution up to this second. If you have a business analytics tool, something like a Tableau, you can very easily take this information and import it into that and basically do whatever you want to with it. Any type of trend analysis, reporting, anything customized. So all of the details are there within the system at your fingertips. And now the last thing I want to mention, as you're going through, let's say, let's fast forward and say that you've completed going through everything and you're all done. You want to now close out the event. You can always click on close event. It's going to say, hey, are you sure that you want to close this plan out? You can't go back and change it. And let's say that hours have transpired and we resolved our building evacuation issue. So I said, yes, I'm going to go ahead and close that. What that means now is that when I look at my status of different plans, it's no longer in the active, it's now in the closed category. But even though it's closed out, I can always go back and take a look at it. I can always see my SITREP, my situation report, and or the audit log. So that information is always at my fingertips. So I think that was about 15 minutes or so. I think I'd like to stop at this point and take questions. So do we have some questions? I'm going to open this up. Maybe there's a few things over here in the chat area.
Thanks, Raj. Thank you for that presentation. And yes, we have some questions. So the first one is, can the person enter or upload their existing plans, their existing run books or playbooks into the Everbridge Crisis Management?
Yes, so the version which I've demoed for you is the one that is in production today, but we have a new version coming out in about a week. I'm just going to click over to this screen, and in this new version, you do have the ability to upload plans and upload task list or checklist using a standardized comma delimited format, which you of course can download to make sure it's in the right structure.
Thank you. The next question we have is, how can remote people work on tasks from their mobile phone when
Yeah,
they
and
have,
that's,
uh,
yeah, sorry.
uh, just an addition when they have no laptops?
Exactly. So if you look here on my phone, I was assigned tasks. I was able to execute those tasks. Now, from an administrator point of view, launching plans from my mobile phone, that's a capability that's going to be coming out soon. It's not going to be coming out within days, but that is on our roadmap. And my understanding that should be coming out soon so that I can go in administratively and launch it from my mobile phone. And then, of course, as I showed you right here, execute those steps from my mobile phone. And by the way, one of the things I failed to mention is these documents that are reference documents for these individual tasks, these are also going to be maintained offline. So if I lose my internet connectivity, I've still got access to those reference documents on my mobile phone. So the goal really here is to make this a completely mobile solution.
Thank you. And next question is the crisis management only for emergency or crisis planning, or can we use this for other operational tasks?
And yes, as I mentioned, I think because of the name, crisis management, critical events, sometimes people get the impression that it's only urgent, critical, emergency, but really it can be operational. And most organizations will have, let's say, 5 to 10 things that are potentially crises, but they may have over 100 things which are normal work, which people do on a weekly or daily basis that are operational, which are also important, which also involve the communication and coordination of different people, whether they're local or remote, and crisis management is a great way to do that.
Thank you. Next question being, is there an option to take a photo through the app on mobile phone, or do I need to upload the photo through my gallery from my mobile phone?
So from the mobile phone, you have the ability to go through and add comments and also add information into here. So I think I don't have an example of one here, but there is the ability to upload images, and especially when you add comments, I can go through and I can add things into the comment, which may include an image from my phone, which might be in a gallery. That's an important capability because sometimes people need to, especially for an emergency situation, there may be, an urban riot, or they may see something suspicious happening in the parking lot, or there's different cases where it's important to be able to take a picture. So those basic capabilities you have from your mobile phone, you'll be able to add them in comments.
Thank you. Can you send a report of responder info, or can you generate a report of responses from an incident?
So I showed you 2 types of basic reports on the system. One was the SITREP, the situation report, which was, whoops, it looks like that logged me out of here, which was the basic report that I showed you. And then of course the audit log is where you can get any type of information. So from the audit log, you can have, it's basically a comma delimited spreadsheet, which you can then parse. And you can parse that to say, I want to parse it for my responders. I want to parse it for all the timestamps when the responders did certain things. I want to parse it based upon actions or geography. It's basically a spreadsheet. You can sort that data any way you want to and present it any way you want to. So I would say from a, from the full flexibility point of view, the audit log is the way to go. And from a very simple high level, PDF report, that SITREP is a great way to go.
Thank you. Is there any logic available within the task list? For example, one task might be to consider external communications. If a user says they are not required, can the user be prompted to reconsider the task at some predetermined time during the incident? Or alternatively, if they select yes when they consider communications, can the next task appear?
So the type of logic that you're talking about internal to tasks, whether it's a time-based logic like, hey, you have 1 hour to complete this task, otherwise it's going to be escalated to someone else or another group, or task dependencies, or the concept of subtasks. Like here are 3 steps that are related to task number 1 and 2 sub-steps that are related to task number 2. That type of capability is not in the system yet, but that is on the roadmap and that's going to be coming. We do definitely get questions about logic within task lists and in addition, time-related capabilities, time management, within tasks of task lists.
Well, those were all the questions we had today. Oh no, there's another one coming in.
Okay.
Can you integrate the other sources of information, for example, from weather.com or international SOS?
So any sources that can bring data into Everbridge today is information that could potentially be leveraged in the crisis management module, because it's just another module or product within the Everbridge suite. That's something that we'd have to take a look at as a side conversation. If it's something that goes into the system and becomes part of the contact data, or goes into the system via our REST API, then that's information that may be accessible by crisis management module. Potentially not everything that's in the system is accessible by crisis management yet, but that is on our roadmap. So I think those are individual conversations we'd have to have with customers or prospects. What type of data they want to get in, can we get the data in, and what the best way of doing that is.
Thank you. Is there a way to run a report on a monthly basis to show number of incidents handled with resolution or outstanding tasks?
Yeah, you can automate any type of report. So using our REST API, you can take any of the data from the system. Like I told you, this comma delimited spreadsheet, which has everything, our audit log. Using a REST API, you can make a small script. You can grab that data, and then you can run regular reports. So we have a lot of customers that use our reports as they are and create customized reports, and then automate it and say, for example, every Friday at 6 p.m., run these 5 customized reports for our XYZ corporation. So you could do the same type of thing for pumping out customized reports from the audit log.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us today. That's all the time we had for questions now. If you have any more questions, please enter them in the question box and we'll follow up with you individually. The whole session has been recorded and will be available on demand in 2 days. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.